Hi guys, and welcome back to another Community Talk podcast. This time it's different. I mean, I've not actually managed to get a normal community podcast where I've been working alongside, let's say Unofficial Pundit and talk about the game. But this time today, we're going to always talk about the latest protests, which I mean everyone's talking about on Twitter. So I think it'd be absolutely crazy for us not to sit down and have a chat about it. So thanks, guys, obviously for joining. If you haven't already, it'd be great if you could go on YouTube, subscribe, and if you're on Twitter, to spread the word, retweet and like it. It would help us a lot. So, Unofficial Pundit, obviously, mate, it's great to have you on. You've been on a few times before. I mean, I seen you on Twitter yesterday, and it was quite controversial for me. I felt as if the majority of people were for the protests, not the violent side of it, where only a few people did ruin it. But the peaceful protests, I think it did work. So I mean, I'd love to obviously hear what you think about the protest and why you were almost against it.
Okay, first I want to say thanks for having me on again, guys. I always appreciate you guys asking me to come on, and I really enjoy it. One of the reasons why I'm against the protest, or I'm not against it, like I said, I was going to say to Alexei before that when I saw him and John were there, I knew that there must have been parts of the crowd, because I was with my family till just before it was meant to be kicking off, and now I'm getting told it's been delayed. But I knew there was parts of the crowd there that were there for that. The main purpose was to protest and try to send the message that we want the Glazers out. But you just know with that many people there, there's going to be, and I don't care about saying there's going to be idiots. You know there's going to be idiots. Like I've seen videos today of a man kicking the door open, and that's how they got in. So you destroyed the door at Old Trafford. Now you've gone into the stadium, and you've got people smashing cameras, and that's not sending a message. That's now highlighting to the world that there's still idiots out there that will do these things. And believe me, the Glazers sitting at home in America do not care about them little things. They don't. All that will happen is those people will get lifetime bans. Very simple. Another reason why I was against the protest in a certain sense was because I think it needs to be organized better. Fans are only going to do this once, twice, maybe 3 times, maybe 4 times while they're not allowed in the stadium. Eventually, they're going to be back to watching games. I said the same thing about the Super League. If the Super League went ahead, fans would have watched it, 100%. When Man United were playing Real Madrid, fans would have watched it, would have been tweeting about it. They need to do something else. Like, for example, when fans are allowed back in, fill the stadium, and the minute the whistle goes, empty the stadium, and then not go to the stadium for 2, 3, 4, 5 games. Show them that we're not coming to the stadium. Don't walk into the megastore and buy anything. Don't tweet about United. But that's impossible to do because there's so many people and they don't care. They're going to carry on tweet. Don't tweet. When MUFC is not trending on Twitter and it's not being spoke about and there's nothing going on and no one's going on and liking I know they're boycotting at the moment, but when the Manchester United pages on Instagram and Twitter and that are not getting no likes and there's nothing going on and people don't watch a game or two, which hurts, but sometimes you've had to miss a game in your life. Nobody watches the game. So Sky Sports know that their ratings have gone down or their viewings have gone down. That will make a difference. For example, when those fans got into the stadium the way they did, they should have sat on the pitch peacefully. That would have made headlines. Now, imagine 10,000 fans in and outside the stadium had all sat on the ground, weren't causing no trouble, weren't doing nothing like that. So you weren't seeing videos now. The videos that are going around on the media, a lot of them, are fans fighting with police and one guy getting pushed over and police trying to push them back, things getting destroyed, all the litter and all that stuff. Imagine everyone was just sitting there, you're seeing this. A lot of the media outlets wouldn't have been able to say anything bad because it would have been fans that have had enough and have actually sat down outside Old Trafford and made a voice for themselves. That's my opinion. We need to do something else. Flying a plane over the stadium where it says Glazers out ain't making no difference to them, honestly. If I'm making millions, I'm going to have people that don't like me. It's just the way it is. And that's a fact. If you're making millions, there's going to be people that don't like you. You're going to have haters. If you don't, you're doing something wrong. And I just feel like the protest isn't
but
going to achieve anything in the long run, the way it's been done now.
But see, for example, you're talking about all these things happening. Like the steward got hit by a coin.
Yep.
The cameras get thrown. I did see that. I do not stand for anything like that. It's bizarre that people took it that far. But that's what the media are going to get clicks for, and they're not going to get clicks for, let's say, Alexei standing peacefully protesting. They're going to get clicks for the minority of people who were out there trying to cause an issue today. And that's what I think. I agree exactly what you're saying, mate, in the sense of what the guys were doing, as we've just previously spoken about, were completely wrong. But there needs to always be like something in place where you know where it's going to be, you know what's going to happen, and you know what to bring. Personally, I don't think standing outside the Lowry Hotel done a lot either.
Sorry to butt in there.
I think the stadium would have been enough.
Hotel thing, that was the first thing I saw, and I was furious. Why are you where the players and manager are? We already know a lot of the players have come out and was against the Super League and that, but you're not going to have players come out and say "fuck the Glazers." Sorry, my language, boys.
No,
there might be younger kids watching.
Yeah.
You're not going to have people come out and say, you're not going to have players come out and say that because they get paid by the Glazers. It's not going to happen. Ole's not going to come out and say, I want the Glazers gone. Because he could, an hour later, he could be sacked. What do you expect him to do? Ole and the players' hands are tied. There's only so much they can do. They stood up against the Super League thing, which everyone did collectively. All fans stood together. A lot of players stood together. But with this, them being outside the hotel, that was just embarrassing. That was embarrassing. It doesn't bode well. And the question I want to ask Robbie is, last season I was hearing about how great Liverpool's owners were. From United fans, forget Liverpool bragging. From United fans, I was hearing about how great Liverpool's owners were. And look at the way they spent their money, and they've been so shrewd. And look at what they've done. They backed Klopp. Man United won the Premier League this season. Do you think there would have been a protest yesterday?
Yes, I do. And
they wouldn't.
I mean, we've done it before.
Mate, they wouldn't have been there. No. How many years ago was that?
Oh no, it was a while ago. Yes, it was in 2010. But I mean, we won the league the year before. We were in sheer dominance. We were in absolute dominance. So I don't think political aspects would hold it back. And in the form that we've got in the league, I think Liverpool are in a different scenario from us because some of their fans are still on the fence, whereas we've always not liked the Glazers, but now, after their plan of the Super League didn't go to work, that was then the issue, and now everyone's together, everyone's united, and everyone's against it.
Do you think people protesting is going to stop? Is going to get them to sell a club that makes them money every year?
I think it will gain publicity. Yeah.
What other way of getting them out is there? Because it's the only way. Obviously, I wanted to pick you up on one of your points. I agree. There was some idiots, as you said, but the problem I have with all of this is it's like we've seen this. I mean, we discussed this last night. It's like this with a lot of protests that have gone on. If 99% of people there are peaceful and protesting, but 1% aren't, it's the 1% that will be on the front of the news.
Of course.
All the outlets. But what I would say is, obviously, I know this stuff did go on, but I didn't see much violence at all, if any, around where I was. I saw a lot of kids there, 4, 5, 6 years old. I saw a lot of mums with their kids. I saw a lot of kind of, even some kind of I don't mean to say this in a patronising way, but some pensioners there and stuff. There was a lot of people from different age groups, and the thing with this is I don't like the way it's being portrayed now, because when you think about the maths of it and you go, okay, so 9,900 people there were really peaceful, but 100 weren't. It's kind of unfair that when you look at the percentages and the difference in the numbers, it's kind of unfair that the media are focusing on the negatives of it. Like myself and John, I feel we would protest if we did win the league. There's a section of fans that only want better player. That's true, but they're older supporters. Yeah, so there's... On to your point about if we won the league. So I think people need to realise, like, this... The reason... I mean, a lot of people might be different, but the reason me and John, for example, were protesting was nothing to do with whether the signings we've made, or it wouldn't go away if we did make good signings. It's about a more fundamental thing about kind of the debt that's built up over the years, and the fact that, you know, they said on Match of the Day that, the Glazers have invested loads of money, and it's like, they've not invested a penny. All they've done is let us spend the money we've earned. It's like we're a kid and we're not being allowed our own pocket money.
Alexei, sorry to butt in. They own Manchester United because clever businessmen don't use their own money, they borrow money. And that's what they do. And unfortunately, now they are spending their money because that is their money. Unfortunately, you have to look at it from, you can't look at it from how we want to look at it as fans. You've got to look at it from a business point of view. Anyone who's going to buy Manchester United now, we've got to stop comparing them to the City, to Man City's owners. They bought City for next to nothing and have spent that money and have cheated with it to spend that money to get City to the point where they can compete with United as a global business. Okay? They want trophies along the way, but they also want to compete with United as a global business. The issue is, anyone who's going to buy United now, I don't mean it's horrible, but anyone who's going to buy United now, they're going to have to spend 4 billion. And then maybe another 500 million on buying players that the fans want. That's 4.5 billion. How do you know those owners are going to be any good? Because they're not going to come in. No one out there is going to come in and spend 4.5 billion of their own cash on Manchester United. When I read something, I don't know if I'm wrong, but the debt that's been being paid, the interest, is 1.5 billion over the last 16 years. Does anyone know if that's right or wrong? Apparently, the interest we're paying on the debt is 1.5 billion we paid so far in 16 years.
Yeah.
Okay. So with their dividends as well, put it up to about 2 billion United have made in the last 16 years. That means if someone comes in and invests 4 billion, 4.5 billion into United, they're going to have to wait nearly 40 years to see their money back. Forget a profit. Who's going to do that? Who's gonna act? What clever businessman? Because believe me, no one's a billionaire because they're not smart. They didn't just grow a tree in the back garden and start dropping notes off of it and they become a billionaire. And they're clueless. Who is going to buy United at 4 billion? Spend 500 million on, like I said, players, maybe more, maybe even 1 billion on doing the stadium up again, better facilities and all that. You're talking about 5 billion. It's going to take them 40 to 45 years to see just their money back. And you're talking about, it's probably a 50-year-old who's going to buy them. He'll be dead by the time he's even in any form of a return. This is one of the issues. Number two, what stops the game? Right, let me give you an example. Number two, if fans keep protesting the way they are and we don't go ahead with games, we will get deducted points. They won't keep letting this happen, because if they keep letting United fans do it, every fan in the country can start doing it and smash into the grounds, running around. Oh, nothing's going to happen. They're just going to postpone our game to another day. Now, we will get deducted points. So you can't keep protesting the way you have. But what stops the Glazers now from thinking, bollocks to this lot? They think they're better than us? No problem. We'll sit in America in safety so they can't touch us. And what we'll slowly do is we'll slowly start shipping off shares, but we'll also ship off their best players as well. And then when we've turned the club into an absolute piece of shit, then we'll leave. And they can be the next Leeds United. Unfortunately, unless you know somebody who's got 4 or 5 billion that they just want to throw at United, not because they want to see nothing's changing. I'm sorry, but nothing's changing. I want it to change, but nothing's changing.
But that's kind of the point of like the 50+1 idea. Obviously, the 50+1 idea isn't perfect because obviously it wouldn't actually get the owners out, but it would give kind of season ticket holders or whoever is deciding this a say in how things are run. So it would basically prevent them from running the club into the ground, which is kind of obviously the point of the protest, because 50+1 is a very, very achievable goal.
Only if you have the government behind it. And Boris mentioned it once. Since the Super League's won, he hasn't mentioned it again.
Well,
Yeah.
maybe
See, I
maybe if
trust-
United fans do keep
Just
protesting,
United, just United fans, no, United will get punished. If you're gonna get
No.
everyone to do this outside their stadiums, day in, day out, week in, week out, every weekend, so there's no games being played. The only game that got missed yesterday was a United game.
but now football pundits from all over
Oh,
are now trying to unite, and
we-
they're trying to get their club on board. You know, you looked
No.
at Jamie Carragher yesterday. He started off and he was like, "This isn't just a problem for United. This is a problem for the whole of England."
Jamie Carragher can say whatever he wants. If this starts happening everywhere, he will get shut up by the government as well. That's a fact. And the reason why Gary Neville, because you look at Jermaine Genius ain't in agreement. But if you look at Gary Neville, let me tell you why Gary Neville is so upset about this. Gary Neville owns a football club, Salford City. Believe me, Gary Neville, he doesn't own Salford because he wants to see them lift the Champions League one day because he loves Salford City. He owns Salford City to eventually get them to the Premier League where he can make money. And I watched him say what he said. If there's 6 big boys leave the Premier League, English football's finished, and he miles will turn Salford City into a strip club because he's never going to make the money he wants from it.
Isn't that the point of the Premier League system?
Their goal is to make money. Gary Neville's goal is to get Salford to that point where it's worth that money. Also, don't forget he earns a couple of million a year working for Sky Sports. So this is all money. What would have happened if the Super League came in? Sky Sports would have been finished. What would have happened to English football if the Super League came in? It would have been finished. UEFA and FIFA are no better than this lot.
No,
UEFA and FIFA have been taking the piss for years.
They're not.
There's no better here.
But the difference is
but you
between
not
someone
think,
like Gary Neville and like some other people on there is on Sky. You could tell yesterday that the presenter Dave Jones and Graham Souness were had been briefed. Okay, you say Man United fans are bad. You say you shouldn't protest anymore. Whereas I think they went against the grain of their own employers a bit because one thing I will say, which disgusts me, is Sky acted like they were the voice of the fans about 2 weeks ago when their product was under threat, when their income was under threat. Yep. Now they've got their product back. They could not give a shit. And I don't know why we're not boycotting stuff like Sky as well, because
Alexei, fans want to watch football no matter what. If the Super League had gone ahead, everyone would be watching it. They might have boycotted 1 game, 2 games, but they would have watched it. And like I said to you, yesterday, Spurs played Sheffield United. Spurs should be right. If anyone should be right, so should Spurs. Look at what they've gone from nearly challenging for the league and dropped. And Jose Mourinho might be shit. But look at that Spurs team. They're not great. They've got Harry Kane, who's brilliant. They've got Son, who has 2 good months a season. And they've got Gareth Bale. He's going back in the summer.
I'm going to actually bring up this point that you made about Gary Neville and Salford City, because I mean I've had this chat with quite a lot of United fans, and I think it's pretty crazy that, you know, the fact that he's getting brought into conversation because he's a pundit. He gets over, let's say, $1 million for Sky, and then he obviously owns Salford City. But you know, the whole point of his club and the whole point of non-league football, the whole point of the lower divisions is the hope of possibly playing in, you know, the Champions League because they can. I know it is a mile away, but they can still do it. It is still possible. It may seem impossible, but it's not. But whereas if this Super League does come into play, then every other team apart from these 6 teams in the Premier League will just be irrelevant. So I think that is where he's come into play.
Yeah, and the thing is
where are Bury FC right now?
That's completely different because
I'm just asking a question.
No, I understand that, but that's one team.
No, but what did he say? Was he really vocal like this back then? Because the government should have stepped in then and then helped Bury. And that's when the 50+1 maybe should have come into play, and you're not going to have teams going into administration. Because I heard a woman, I think it was on Sky, on TalkSport, crying her eyes out, said that football's dead for her now because she can't go support someone else. Like if United didn't exist tomorrow, I wouldn't watch football. I don't. That might just be me, but I don't watch the Champions League anymore if United ain't in it. I only watched the FA Cup between City and Chelsea because I wanted City to lose, because I didn't want them to equal our treble or go and do a quad. I won't watch the FA Cup final. I couldn't give a shit who wins it out of Chelsea and Leicester. I really couldn't. I don't care about the Champions League. I didn't care about the Carabao Cup final. I knew City were going to win it. Spurs are terrible. So the point I'm trying to make is if United went around tomorrow, I wouldn't watch football anymore. And that's how it is for all them Bury FC fans. They don't watch. I didn't hear Gary Neville being vocal about it because it didn't affect Salford one bit or his job.
The thing is, though, the reality of this is, the government are only going to step in when it's clubs that are affecting the money they get in taxes and the money that UK get in income. The government aren't going to be affected by Bury going bust, unfortunately. I wish they were. I wish they'd done something, but they're not, because they only care about their income and their money. And they saw with the Big Six their income under threat.
Of course.
I personally have no faith at all. I've said this a lot, but I have no faith at all in someone like Boris Johnson taking billionaires' money away from them or their clubs away. I just don't know how you can trust that. But I think the thing is, like, it sounds mad, but when I was at the protest yesterday, I didn't really hear any mention of the Super League. Obviously, the Super League was important. I think the Super League was the tipping point. But it was much more... The reason we are still doing these protests and the other clubs aren't is because, like, Chelsea, for example, was protesting against the Super League. The small amount of Spurs fans were protesting against the Super League, whereas our fans... This has been building for 16 years. And it's finally tipped over now because of the Super League. But I don't think the Super League's the main catalyst. And then Sky kind of made out like it was, but that's just because...
So, Alexei, I've got a question for you. See about the Sky pundits. I mean, I know we obviously briefly spoke about it yesterday in the podcast, but I want to obviously hear, who do you actually agree with? Because, I mean, there's a clear divide between them. So yesterday, who was on? It was like Micah Richards, Roy Keane, Jamie Carragher, Gary Neville, and who else was on? I mean, well, the actual presenter, Dan, I don't know his second name, but he got absolutely slaughtered.
Delightful, didn't he?
So who do you actually agree with?
Well, it's obvious.
On that. Well,
it's obvious who I'm going to agree
with.
Because
quite a lot. I mean, I've seen today more than anything, Alexei, that some United fans don't actually agree with what, let's say, Jamie Carragher and Gary Neville have actually had to say yesterday. So, I mean, which personally I just can't understand.
The thing is, right, they were the only two, whatever you think of those two, obviously they have their own interests. They were the only two people stopping from Sky just becoming all United fans a bad thing. Souness was losing his absolute mind at this. This is the guy who planted a corner flag in the pitch at a really intense derby, and he's going on about a beer bottle getting thrown. Yeah, like we've all said, it's not great that stuff like that was going on, but the message gets completely lost in this. And it's
Alexei, unfortunately, that's always going to happen. Everyone has their own views. Everyone has their own agendas, and the media are only going to listen. Like I said, media no one's really going to watch Sky Sports for very long if a load of people just standing outside. If I'm a neutral and I've seen 10,000 people standing outside United protesting, okay, then I'm going to flick off the channel. But if I'm showing images now of cameras being smashed, people getting in, people getting hurt, people want to see what happens next. What happens next? It's like they're watching a mini series of something, and there's going to be loads of action. Something else has to happen, and I'm sorry. If fans were allowed in the stadiums right now, I don't think that protest would have happened. And we say that we've had enough. Arsenal fans should have had enough. Arsenal fans should have had enough. Arsenal fans should have.
The thing is, though, I mean, sorry, this is kind of related, but for example, Channel 4 News were the only news channel last night who showed police beating a fan on the floor. The only news channel. All the other news channels, even the news channel I was on, their leading thing on the BBC at 10 was police getting hurt. And it's like, hang on, what about... say that's fine. But surely the whole point is, especially if something like the BBC, is that you look at it balanced and go, okay, so two police officers were hurt. But then you go equally, what about that kid who got assaulted because he was trying to get the ball back?
Unfortunately.
What about the fan who got beaten on the floor?
Unfortunately, we know what the media is.
But this is why
we know what the media is. We know what the media is, Alexei. We know what the media. Listen, the media have always done and always shown what they want to show or their agenda. That's number one. And number two, the normal person watching it would sit there and think, well, that fan wouldn't have got hurt if they weren't there doing what they were doing. The police officer's doing his job. He shouldn't be getting hurt. I'm not saying it's right. No fan should have got hurt. No police officer should have got hurt there. I understand we all want the Glazers out. I want the Glazers out. I just don't see it happening. And so let's stop the game on Thursday. Oh, but the fans won't do that because they want to see a final, because they want to see a trophy. Right. I'll just give you an example. If it was at Old Trafford, they wouldn't do it. They wouldn't do it because they'd want to see, if the first leg had been 6-2 in Rome, it wouldn't be happening at Old Trafford now because they'd want to see us get into a final.
No, but then you can say
we do it again on the weekend. If we did it again on the
weekend,
if we did it again on the weekend, what do you think the FA and the Premier League that would do? Do you think they'll just let us carry on postponing games?
I mean, we've done it and probably one of the most watched games of the season ahead, which was Man United versus Liverpool. Liverpool had to get in top 4. Yes, the game will go ahead at a different date, but I think that's a statement alone. I don't think we need to do it every single game. But
so I think you think the Glazers today have sat down and decided to start selling up because that happened yesterday?
No, I didn't say that. It's not that what I would say, Alexei, let me finish on this point. I didn't say that. What I said was like the fact that Man United versus Liverpool, it is one of the biggest games, revenue money, everything else that comes along with it. And then you look at the fans outside the stadium, the Glazers run off of certain things like social media. You know, they want to have a good name, which they don't have. And yes, I understand that they will not sell up tomorrow, but if it keeps going on, if they keep pushing for them to leave, then possibly, because their big plan of getting into the Super League, which has apparently been going on for years, didn't go to plan, didn't work out. So now that's my reason why I would go to the protest, because now that their plan's not, been pulled off, and absolutely nothing's working for them. At this point now, what do they actually have to bring to the table? What are they going to? What's their next goal? What's their next aim for United? Because I'd like to know. Do any of you guys know what their next aim is? Pay off their debts? I don't know. Like what really is it? Because with the Super League, it didn't work.
That's simple. Earn money, which they're going to do year in, year out. That's why they bought United. They didn't buy United because they love football. We already know that.
Yeah.
They bought United to make money. So unless you're if you think anything yesterday affected them in any way, shape, or form, they're still gonna get their money from this game because it's still gonna go ahead. Nothing affected them in any way. Nothing at all.
If you're a sponsor and you've seen how many people voice their displeasure about the Glazers and even obviously about the Super League and all of that, it's going to put you off a bit having your product associated with something that is viewed so negatively.
So you think 10,000 fans who are outside the stadium and the millions of fans around the world who will still buy Manchester United merchandise and will still watch United, you think if Adidas was to drop us, you think somebody else won't come in?
They might well do, but it might become a hindrance to them because the Adidas deal is loads, and yet they're kind of saying now, hang on, no one's buying shirts at the moment. We're not really getting a good end of the deal here. And if Adidas drop us, we will get another kit sponsor, but it will probably be a bit lower financially because of everything that's gone on. You don't want to associate yourself. But also if stuff like kit boycotts actually start happening properly, you're not... What's the point in them paying loads of money to sponsor us?
Alexei, if they did, you're talking about 10,000 people that made it there and a few people on Twitter.
No,
boycott. You've got a lot more million people that are going to be buying it. Let me tell you, people that are abroad, and if we finish second and win the Europa League, they're still going to be buying them. I know one kid personally lives in Singapore that I think has bought 5 shirts just this season, goalkeeper shirts and all that. Okay. Forget the fans here that buy 1 shirt every second year. Abroad is where we're really big. And let me probably say, when we was losing Nike, people said the same thing back then. And we got a bigger deal with Adidas. That's how big Manchester United are. And they're going to be back in the Champions League next year. They might sign someone like Jadon Sancho. They might win the Europa League. We're going to be even bigger to these sponsors.
I don't think we will sign anyone, though.
We're definitely...
The constant brief is that there's no money at all anywhere.
That's
screwed. But also,
That's
Let
ridiculous.
Alexei go. Let
They-
Alexei go.
They don't spend money at the best of times, really, the Glazers. I mean, they don't invest any of their own money. So I don't see why now in a pandemic they're going to go and invest anything, to be honest. I hope I'm wrong, but...
I don't see them not spending any money.
I don't see them spending absolutely nothing, but I don't see them spending anything like what they should be, considering one of the richest clubs in the world now. I think we should be up there, spending with the likes of, you know, Chelsea, Man City, the way Real Madrid used to spend as well, and we're not. We never have been. I don't think it's good enough. I mean, the signings that we make, I mean, I could name you transfer windows that have just been irrelevant. Even after winning league titles and stuff, we've not even went and signed one player that has been worthwhile. And it goes back. It goes back to whenever I was a wee boy.
What, under the Glazers, do you mean?
Yes. But I can't, mate. I can't remember my United before the Glazers. I would have been about what, 4.
No,
So,
I'm talking about with the Glazers.
yeah,
You said-
with the Glazers. So I mean, you talk about the season, mate, when we won the league, we lost Ronaldo, and we signed Michael Owen, who was irrelevant, an old guy, and we signed Antonio Valencia. At the time, he wasn't going to go straight into the team and start every single game. Yes, he did work out in the future. And the other guy was Gabriel Bertan, who then went on to play for Newcastle.
Robbie,
And
I do want to ask you a quick question. I don't mean this to be rude anyway.
No,
So
no.
I really appreciate you guys having me on. And Alexei done loads of things with me. I've never been rude to you, have I, Alexei?
No.
I just want to ask, how old are you? That's not me being rude in any way.
I'm 19.
You're 19. Okay. I'm
Yeah.
just going to tell you a little bit. The Glazers, I don't support them at all. I think they've been shit. And the reason why I think they've been shit is this summer was proof. I'm just going to give you a little rundown of why the Glazers will keep doing what they're doing as well. And it's not because I'm a Martial fan, because I honestly believe when we come back next season, Martial's fit. If he doesn't work that little bit harder, we need to sell him. He's not good enough on the left. He's not good enough on the left. He's not better than Marcus Rashford. And I can name 10 players out there right now that are better on the left than Martial is. So unless he's going to pick up, stop spitting his dummy out from time to time, because we know the talent he has, Martial can go as well. But I'm going to give you one reason why the Glazers will keep doing what they're doing. We signed Cavani. That should have been a boycott. Nobody should have bought a Cavani shirt, especially not with number 7 on the back, when you've had players like Cantona and Ronaldo wearing the number 7 shirt. We signed Cavani. Our fans have orgasmed over him this season so bad, it's been nearly like a porn. It's been like watching a porn. Let me explain to you about Cavani, why it's such a bad signing. Man City are about to do a treble. They're getting rid of Aguero, who's 2 years younger than Cavani, and over his career, believe me, has been better than Cavani. They're getting rid of Aguero. We're begging Cavani, who's 34, 2 years older, to stay at United. We've done the same thing a few years ago when we should have been going for someone like Harry Kane. We went and got Zlatan Ibrahimovic. These are the things the guys are doing, and the fans are lapping it up. If Cavani signs that deal, there's going to be more number 7 shirts sold next season for a guy who's nearly turning 35. So the Glazers will carry on doing what they're doing because it makes money. And fans, as much as they say they want the Glazers out, are supporting what they're doing. No one should.
But if Cavani goes,
Cavani.
do you think they'll buy another striker?
That's not the point, Alexei. This shouldn't have been supported.
What do you think it was Martial?
This shouldn't have been supported. This Cavani signing this summer after getting Champions League, because the whole talk was if United don't get Champions League, they won't sign the players they should do. If they do get Champions League, they will sign the players. We signed Donny van der Beek, who doesn't even get into the team. Clearly, that's not the player that Ole wanted. We signed Cavani, who was 33, going to be 34, and was not wanted by PSG anymore. We signed Telles, who no one knew when he was. No one knew 6 months before that. And the only clips I saw on Twitter of Telles was goal scoring. I never saw great defending from Telles.
Yeah, it was a good signing.
Okay, so that's who? Telles.
Yeah. I knew Telles before that.
Okay,
and he was in the Champions League every year with Porto. He done well.
My friend Telles was not a special signing. This summer.
No, he's not a special signing, but he's what we needed. If we sign a player like him, and as you said, a player like Harry Kane, if we sign a player like Haaland, who we do need, and every fan knows that we need a player like Haaland to hit that level, you know, if we manage to do that, then yes. But I don't think any United fan knows and is happy with herself in their head. Look, my number 7's Cavani. He's aging and he's getting there. Like I think everyone knows that.
Sorry,
Haaland
another reason why I asked how old you was because We're talking about United and what we've done under the Glazers and what we signed. I don't think they've been great. But after we won the league and the Champions League, they went out and signed Dimitar Berbatov. At the time, we didn't need to go and sign a striker because apparently there's always been this notion at United that we need a striker that scores 30 plus goals a season. The only time we really had that before Dimitar Berbatov was with Ruud van Nistelrooy, and it wasn't our greatest ever signing. Fans go on about how good a goal scorer he was, but if you look at the period Ruud van Nistelrooy was there, we won 1 league title, didn't do great. The minute he left, we won 3 Premier Leagues and a Champions League with it. So Man United have never been great with a single target man up front. We've always had players who might not get you 30 plus goals, but will get you goals and play to a different style. Like when we had York and Cole. None of them scored 30 plus goals or 30 goals, one of them just in the league on their own, but they were both scoring goals, both contributing to others scoring goals. The same with Rooney and Tevez. Rooney and Tevez never got you loads of goals that season. Ronaldo did because they made up for it. We signed Dimitar Berbatov. Do you know why we didn't sign players like Aguero after that? When you say that we sold Ronaldo and we went and got Valencia, do you know why we didn't sign someone like Aguero? Because Sir Alex has come out and said himself in his book, he didn't think he was good enough. Do you know why we didn't sign someone like Frank Ribery? Because Sir Alex went and watched him for 45 minutes and said he's not good enough. Please remember these things. When we signed Antonio Valencia, this was a signature move by Sir Alex, what he's always done. That's why we signed Henningberg. That's why we signed Ronnie Johnson. Sir Alex always want to sign a player who done well in the league. Valencia done well for Wigan that year, and we needed a right winger. Sir Alex thought it was a good move. Sir Alex went on to win the league with someone like Valencia. So fans weren't moaning back then. They're moaning now because of the shit we're in.
Fans were moaning back then.
Fans, you've got to think. I always come back to this point, but you've got to remember, like, fans formed a breakaway club even in 2005, and then you're talking a few years later in about 2009. We were Premier League champions at that point. Going into that season, obviously, we didn't end up winning it that year, but they weren't. We were beating Milan 4-0 in the last 16 of the Champions League. We were still well in the title race. It was a very close one. I think it was the year we lost it to an offside goal, I believe. So then it was still relevant, and I think the reason Ferguson didn't get those players is because he was a genius. It was fine, but he always said that thing that Wenger started saying a few years later as well. There's no value in the transfer market. I refuse to believe that if you said to Alex Ferguson, you can have someone like, Benzema's another example. You can have Benzema or Michael Owen. He would have gone, yeah, I'll have Michael Owen. His hands were tied.
Benzema said no to us.
Huh?
Benzema said no to us, by the way, just so you know.
Yeah, but as an example. He said
no to us. So whether that was United didn't have the pulling power no more, whether that was Sir Alex getting too old and didn't have the pulling out power he used to have, I don't know. I love Sir Alex. He was an absolute legend, arguably the greatest ever. But you do, as you get older, you do start to lose it. And Benzema said no to us. If you go and look at Sir Alex signings from the early days, Sir Alex never used to go out and sign that big European player. And the one time he did do it with Juan Sebastian Veron, it went horribly wrong. And that's why he stuck to signing players from the league. Yeah,
but equally, there was a period, wasn't there, where we signed Rio, like for a 4-year period, where we signed Rio Ferdinand, Wayne Rooney, Ruud van Nistelrooy, all in kind of 3 years. And obviously, Rooney and Ferdinand were quite young, but they were kind of the most sought after younger players in the world. I mean, if you look at kind of Rooney's fee, for example, that would be huge today. I mean, he was kind of like, obviously the Mbappe signing of today. So before the Glazers came in, Ferguson was getting players like Rooney and Ferdinand and Ronaldo and Van Nistelrooy. Obviously Veron didn't work out, but players like Veron. And then the Glazers come in and we're not getting those players anymore. We're not getting Agueros or Hazards for various reasons. Maybe they didn't want to come, but we're not even really in the talk to get them because his hands are tied. Because
I could name you guys, like, see in the past, let's say 10 years, I could name you probably over 10 players who have came in, been bought for quite a lot of money and completely failed, compared to the past. I definitely can. And that is down to the Glazers as well.
No, it's
well
not.
More.
No,
it
it's
is
not.
because, who they employ.
It's not.
They employ Woodward, who has no clue.
It's got nothing to do with the Glazers. It's got nothing to do, and it's got nothing whatsoever to do with Woodward. I can just tell you that now. That bullshit that fans tried to come out with because they couldn't explain it, and they wanted to argue people. They want to be negative. That crap that fans come out with saying that we're signing that player for a PR spin. No, it wasn't. You're not going out spending 60 million on Di Maria because you think fans are going to rush out, and then the following season tell fans they can come and exchange their shirt for absolutely free. That wasn't a PR spin. We've signed big players. That was down to the managers. Buying garbage.
Mourinho did not want Sanchez.
Yes, Mourinho did. If you watch the way Sanchez played for Arsenal, it was the perfect Mourinho signing. That's why I was excited by it. He was picking up the ball outside Arsenal's box and he was creating stuff as well. That was the perfect Mourinho signing. But when he got there, he couldn't believe how bad it. Sanchez really come out and said he couldn't believe how bad it was. Mourinho didn't like Martial, so he needed a left winger, and he wasn't the biggest Rashford fan. I think you guys
but Louis van Gaal has come out himself and said that Ed Woodward is a commercial man and he doesn't run in the footballing interest of the club. And some years he was not getting players he wanted to sign. He was just getting players.
I mean, he got Falcao. Like, why would we not saying?
No way. I'm sorry, Robbie. There's no way at the start of that transfer window that Woodward and Van Gaal sat down and Van Gaal went, okay, I've already got a few strikers, but on deadline day, I really want you to suddenly sign Falcao. That was not in the plan. What happened was on deadline day, Woodward rang up Van Gaal and went, so do you want Falcao? And Van Gaal went,
who do you think signed Daley Blind? Who do you think signed Memphis? Who signed Memphis Depay?
Oh no, I'm not. We're not.
Yeah, we're not
like trying to disagree that you guys got some idea.
You guys can't say this ain't the managers. Now look. Okay,
I'm
going to give you guys an example. Look at how many players Sir Alex signed before the Glazers came in. Look at how many of them were British, and look at how many of them came directly from the Premier League. Forget even just being British. Look how many came directly from the Premier League, because you're signing the best in your league to be the best in your league. Then go and look at, from the minute Sir Alex left to when Ole took over, we signed 26 players. 26. 2 of them were British. Luke Shaw, a little boy, and Lee Grant, a 3rd or 4th choice goalkeeper. The rest of them were players from all over the world, and that's why we didn't progress. The minute Ole comes in, still the Glazers, still Woodward, and I'm not condoning it because what they've done this summer, I hate them. I despise them. And that's why I was going nutty when Woodward left. So I was going nutty. Not that I actually blame him, because he was doing his job perfectly for the Glazers. They hired him. You're going to do your job. If your boss is happy, you're going to carry on doing that job. But I was happy when he left because this summer was the one that made me feel sick. But look at when Ole came in. AWB, Harry Maguire, Daniel James. 3 players from England, from our league. AWB was maybe the best right back that was available at the time and is now maybe the best right back in the league. For me, defensively, he's 100% the best right back in the league. There's not even no question.
I don't
and
disagree.
then we had Harry Maguire, who's changed our defence massively, and is also our captain. And Daniel James, people hate on him. I don't get it. He's 15 million. He was not bought as the next Lionel Messi. He was bought as a squad player who can also progress. He was a young kid. And a lot of the games Daniel James has played, we've looked good in certain aspects of he wins the ball back, he fights. There's a reason why we beat Leeds 6-2, because the kid fights. He'll keep fighting. His end product isn't Cristiano Ronaldo's end product. But I didn't see the fans do the same when we signed Palestri, who now is no longer with United. And I promise you, he never gets to play full 90 minutes for Manchester United. So I've seen enough of these players come in from a foreign country. We pick up a load of fans in that country and we move on. This was before the Glazers and while the Glazers have been here. What about Diallo? Never played. He's getting compared to Lionel Messi. At 18, Messi was tearing the world apart. At 18, Diallo's never played 90 minutes of professional football at the highest level anywhere. Not at Atalanta, not at Manchester United. But fans ain't moaning about him. His fee can go up to like 30 or 40 million. Fans are not moaning.
I think people came in like 3 months ago, so you've got to give him a chance to.
I think people are very quick to judge players like that because of the price tag, but we have apparently been watching Amad Diallo since he's been 14, 15. Which I think that is why a lot of fans are really finding a bit of comfort. They find a bit of comfort from that.
Sorry, and for me, that's embarrassing. We've got to stop looking at these little kids who we hope in 10 years' time might make it, because then what you do is you'll become Arsenal. Your main players want to go, And all you're doing is looking at kids and you move lower and lower down the table. We need to do what Real Madrid do. Go out and sign. There's the three best players in the world. You want one of them, go out and sign one of them. Whether that's the first player, the second player, the third player.
But we're not going to do that because of the owners. So it's kind of back to we're going around in circles. We're not I would love it. I think all three of us would love it if in the next window we went and signed Sancho, we signed Haaland or Kane or whatever, one of those two, and we signed Declan Rice and we signed Varane. We would love it. But the reality again is that's not going to happen because of the owners in charge. So we're never going to progress as a club.
100%. And we've sort of come off the topic a little bit, but the issue is here. Do you see after what happened yesterday, do you see the Glazers selling up? Because the only thing for me, I'll be honest with you, if the fans carried on doing this, it would affect Manchester United Football Club, the team and the manager, because there would be action taken against us. Number two, if the fans kept doing this, what would stop? This is the question I have for you guys and anyone else watching. What would stop the Glazers getting so pissed off because they don't care about football and they don't care about Manchester United or the fans? What would stop the Glazers destroying the club for their own financial gain?
They're doing that anyway. They've been doing that 15 years.
Taking
out dividends like 8 million quid in a pandemic. The stadium's not been.
Alexei, what do you think somebody who's going to buy Manchester United for £4 billion is going to do?
So
you think he's not going to take dividends? Stop comparing it to the Man City owner. He's trying to get City to the point where he can take those dividends.
Right, well, Alexei answer.
To me, if I was a businessman, quite a good business model, rather than like Woodward looking for clicks on all this crap, and obviously sponsorships are good, but do you know what would earn us a lot of clicks and sponsorships? If we were good on the pitch. That's the best way of generating money for a football team if you're good on the pitch. And there will be billionaires out there or someone out there who looks at it and goes, do you know what the best way to run Manchester United is? How I'm going to make the most money.
And do you think
make them a successful football team?
Okay.
So guys, I've got a question.
They've not allowed us to do that for about 16 years or so. And it is already slowly decaying. I mean, even if you physically
you can't say that not for 6. You can't say they haven't allowed us for 16 years because we went out. We won the Premier League. We weren't good enough to win. We weren't good enough to go through in the Champions League, and we wasn't good enough in the FA Cup final. So what did they go and do? And I know the reasons why, because we didn't have the bench. So Ferguson's hands were tied. What did they do? They went out and signed Nani at the time was for a big fee. They went out and signed Anderson at the time for a big fee. They went out and signed Hargreaves. And they got Tevez. Bear in mind, Tevez would have stayed at Manchester United.
But we shouldn't be celebrating them letting our own money.
So what? Sorry?
Well, we shouldn't really be kind of celebrating like the couple times they did let us use our own money.
No, I'm not. Listen, I'm not celebrating it. I'm just saying. So we have in those 16 years done things, and then after signing those players and going on in the Premier League and the Champions League, we then went and signed Dimitar Berbatov. They could have said, "Hold up, you won everything. Stick to the way it is." No, they went and signed Dimitar Berbatov for, at that time, a record fee. So
but then what happened a year after?
Let's not pretend. No, Tevez, Ronaldo would have left. Ronaldo wanted to leave. It had nothing to do with the Glazers. Ronaldo's dream was to play for Real Madrid. It was his father's dream who passed away. So there's nothing the Glazers could do. Ferguson kept him for another season.
But they could
Tevez left because of how badly Sir Alex treated him.
Yeah,
then he signed
but my question is, guys, where do we go from here? Alexei, where do we go from here, though? Because, I mean, we've kind of been going around in circles now for about 15 minutes talking about, what's been going on with the Glazers in the past, and, we've kind of just been going back at each other. So now I want to hear, what are we going to do now?
I can hold my hand up and say, if there's going to be a protest outside that stadium, on a Saturday, not a Sunday, because I can't do it on a Sunday because my daughter has football. And I was there yesterday. Anyone who follows me on my personal Instagram would see I was at football with my daughter. I would not miss that for the world. If there was a protest, it could be during the week. I can get there. I'm flexible with my work. I would go there. If everyone's going to, like I said, if everyone's going to sit down, if you could get in the stadium, sit down on the pitch, or if everyone's going to sit down outside and keep doing it, camp outside Old Trafford if you have to, stay there for days, I'd be willing to do so. If everyone tells me, I promise you I won't even watch the Europa League final, if I know every United fan possible is not going to watch it, is not going to tune in and have the TV turned off. If you're going to do that, and no one's going to watch the Europa League final or the semi-final or not watch the game on the weekend, and we're not going to tweet about it, everyone's accounts are going to go dead, I will be involved in that. And it will hurt not to watch the game on Thursday. It will hurt not to watch the game on the weekend. It will hurt not to watch the final if we get to the final. But I'll do that. Is anyone else going to do it? Is anyone else going to miss the final? Because that's the only way you're going to hurt them, by hurting their pocket. And right now, you're not hurting their pocket by protesting outside.
I think yesterday did hurt their pocket, though. There's
How?
no way they gained any money from yesterday. You've got to think. So
How did they lose any money? How did they lose money, Alexei?
So things in place for a football match to go ahead involve kind of broadcasting rights and all this stuff going on. I mean, they've lost. I don't agree with it. But they've lost money from damages for starters. But
no, but that's just wrong. That's just wrong. That you're talking about pennies, mate, compared to what the club earns.
Yeah, but you've got to think, right?
So Alexei, let me hear then.
What?
I'm just saying, let me hear then what you think about the whole protest and where we can move on from. Because do you think there'll be another one maybe like next weekend or the weekend after?
There should be. There really should be. I mean, I slightly agree that I think all the people that got on the pitch and then didn't really know what to do, which was a bit like that seemed a bit spur of the moment. But I think the rest of it was great. Like everyone, we all. Do I still have my little? Yeah, I've got it here. Everyone had one of these little things. It was quite unified.
So should they stop a game? So should they stop next game from going ahead? Is that what you mean, Alexei?
Yeah,
I mean,
I would say so. If it gets to that point,
that can risk us not playing Champions League football, not finishing second.
So the thing is, this is a pretty redundant. The idea of stopping the game is pretty redundant. It's pretty redundant. Us talking about stopping another game because we all know they're not going to let this happen again. Because for some reason yesterday they didn't prepare properly, police-wise, security-wise. It was all a bit weird. They've known this was going to happen, and they just kind of let it go on. So there's no way.
And ask yourself maybe why. There's no billionaire owner out there right now who's watching the media and seeing fans smashing up things, breaking into United and that, who will want to buy Manchester United. I can say that now. If I was able to buy Apple and then I see that Apple stores getting smashed and things like that, I think I might back off. It's more trouble than what it's worth right now until things get a little bit better. Because I'm going to look at why. And like I said, none of you said anything to it because you know you're not going to do it. While you still watch the games, nothing will change. I'm sorry to tell you this, fellas, because I'm still going to watch the games. But while you still watch the games, Alexei, they didn't lose no money. That one game not going ahead. That one game not going ahead yesterday is they've already been paid for that because they know and the game's still going to be shown. So all it does is it affects the broadcasting.
There will probably be sanctions against the club for not being able to produce a safe working environment for both the teams.
Okay, and like I said, all that's going to happen is if it happens again and we can't play a game, we are going to get deducted points. And all that will do is that means we might not play Champions League football next year. And if fans are happy with that, because let me tell you what happens. Because I know if I'm the Glazers and I didn't give a shit about Manchester United and I lost Champions League money next year, somebody's getting sold. Whether it's Bruno, whether it's Pogba, whether it's Rashford, somebody's getting sold to make up that money. They are
nothing will get better until it's sold.
Yeah, and it ain't getting sold unless you find someone.
You know what? They can sell everyone. I honestly couldn't care. Sell the full team, but see this time it doesn't even feel right. I honestly couldn't care. I don't even go in any of the match previews anymore because I don't give a shit about the football. To be honest, I literally don't care what happens. We need to get these guys out. I'm always usually quite balanced, but see at this point I'm not because I've sat on the fence for a while. I run this and I try and let you guys talk, but I'm not on the fence anymore because this guy's just talking sense constantly. For me, everything that he's saying, I agree with. Like the only problem as well is the violence. If everyone can do this,
stop discussing the violence. This is getting ridiculous because this is what's going on every media channel.
But Alexei, that's what's made that you don't. But
that has what's made the news.
That's what's made the news. How many times did Newcastle fans protest? Let me promise you can all protest as long as the game goes ahead and there's no violence. You can all stand outside every single game until you're allowed back in, and they won't care. You're all wearing. A lot of people are wearing United shirts. If I'm a sponsor and I'm watching, I think, fucking hell, they sell a lot of shirts.
But from the past, people have now finally came to terms with it that the Glazers need to move out. I've got United shirts as well. I'm going to make it out. Every single United fan has a shirt. Come on, and see now, I wouldn't buy one. I wouldn't buy anything for United.
I only didn't really buy the shirt this season. I can give you the reason why. Because I thought Adidas done a shit job. The last year's shirt was the most beautiful shirt I've seen in I don't know how long. It's maybe one of my favorites with the way they done the badge and everything was unbelievable. So if Adidas are wondering why their shirt sales have gone down, maybe they need to look at the shirt they made. From last year's one to this year's, it's terrible. The decline is huge. It's like going from Ronaldo to Valencia. That's the truth. That's why I didn't buy a shirt, but I'll still buy shirts and I'll still watch United because, like I said, until views start going down and they start having issues behind the scenes with, and actually, I'm not going to believe the bullshit that was said on going around social media until I hear Adidas actually come out and say that, listen, there's a huge issue here, officially from Adidas, maybe their CEO, and until you hear broadcasters are getting upset and there's issues behind the scenes because 200 million people used to tune in to watch United and now there's only 50 million people tuning in. Until that happens, nothing's going to change. I'd love the club to get sold. It's a dream. But I also want it to be sold. I want the 50+1. I don't just want the club to be sold. Because I don't know what the next. I don't know how bad the next leech is going to be.
But what I think as well, it's like. So do you not think that gaining publicity, peacefully protesting, do you not think that would work at all?
No.
Not at all?
No. Peaceful protest will not work. Because the minute that stadium's open, there's fans back in there. And they're earning money again. Peaceful protest. I'm sorry, my friend. Has it worked with Mike Ashley?
No, it hasn't. But well I think this is a very difficult. That's a very different.
Chelsea with the Super League thing. I mean, the fans turned up.
No. The Super League thing, that was everyone. Let me tell you something. The government was behind that as well. Boris saying that they were going to do the 50+1 scared all these owners and the backlash they got from it. And Gary Neville's already said that this hasn't gone away. The next time they do something, they're just going to come back with something that's a better version. They realize the Super League ain't going to work. They'll probably just come back with something that's better than works different, and you might still have to compete in your league. And if that happens, they're involved in it, and it's over. The government mentioned the 50+1. That's what really shook them as well, because that meant that they were going to lose their foothold in a lot of these clubs. That's now gone away. If you think peaceful protesting is going to get the Glazers to sell and even find an owner, a buyer, then guys, carry on. Like I said, peaceful protesting, I'm not against. I'm not against peaceful protesting. But unless you guys are going to camp outside, not let anyone in the mega store so they can't earn no money, you're going to camp outside and sleep outside, it ain't going to happen. Nothing's going to change. But why would it? They're still going to get overviews.
If they're stopping the games, like the home games, causing issues at the Lowry Hotel, things like that, the games won't go ahead. Especially now with COVID issues as well.
And we'll just get punished.
I know.
And we will end up, and if that continues and we drop out the Champions League and things like that, and they start selling our best players, you'll end up like Leeds United, my friend. So if you're happy with your club going there, okay.
Then does that mean we should just
when Leeds United, let me tell you something. When Leeds United won the league just before we won the league, or when Leeds United in 2002 or something? What, in the semi-final of the Champions League?
One of the most successful teams in the world.
No, listen, we know we was one of the most
successful teams in the world. Very poignant.
We're falling off very quickly. We can't even get through a shitty group stage after winning our first two hardest games. We can't get through. When was the last time we actually competed? I see Real Madrid falling off. I see Barcelona falling off. I said
we're one of the most successful teams in the world, though. I didn't say at this moment of time, like, we are one of the most successful teams in the world.
We have been for a long time. And listen, Leeds were in the, like I said to you, Leeds were in the Champions League semi-final, my friend. And look at where they went to. Don't think clubs can't fall there. Do not think clubs can't fall there, because a lot of big clubs have fallen.
I don't think we're ever going to agree on it. I think we've managed to.
I've said I understand the protesting, but it ain't going to change nothing.
I understand that, but personally, I mean, I'm going to go to the next protest as well, because I think everyone needs to do their own bit. If not, everyone needs to keep using the hashtag Glazers out, keep doing all that, because that, as I said, the more publicity, then the better it's going to get, the more pressure it's going to be put on them. And I understand they're sitting in their house in Tampa Bay, loving life, but I just hope.
If you both go to a protest, I wish you all the best. I hope we sit here in a year's time and you're both saying to me, I told you it'd work. I hope so. But like Gary Neville said, don't just think because a new owner's going to come in, it's going to be better. You could get someone worse than the Glazers. It's happened before.
Yeah, I know. But then
other clubs.
But
if we use this model, it won't be.
We can't just do nothing just because we think there's a
I'm not saying don't do anything. And I've said I'm not against peaceful protesting. I just don't think it'll work, and I'm not for the violence.
We can't keep coming back to the violence because
you will be there in a year's time still talking about the Glazers. You'll be there in 2 years' time still talking about the Glazers. But only thing that will happen is if we do sign a few players this summer and we do progress under Ole, and we do compete in the Champions League and we maybe win the Premier League, all that will happen is your group behind you right now will get smaller, and it happens everywhere.
Alexei, any last thoughts before we end this up? Guys, obviously, thanks for tuning in. It's been great. Obviously, we've kind of been debating what's happened over the last day. But yeah, Alexei, let me hear your last thoughts. What's going on?
What do you mean, just in general?
Like, just in general, mate, if you've got in to kind of close it off with, because I think we've almost kind of covered quite a lot. We've covered, the Glazers in the past since 2005 and then recently as well.
Yeah, so I'm going to keep protesting. I'm going to keep going.
Good.
Because, I mean, mate, you might be right. It might not make a difference, but I just feel like I kind of have to do something. I feel like
I just hope you guys don't get the games called off so we don't get punished for it. Because all it will do is you'll ruin everything players and the manager have done this season. Everything that they've done. 38 games is a long, long way. It's nearly a whole year they have to play for. And a few idiots will destroy it in the space of a couple of weeks.
I just don't think, personally, myself, I don't even care about the game at the moment just now.
But also, like, so what we're saying is if we do a peaceful protest at the next game and that gets it called off, I don't see how that's a thing on us because you have a right to peacefully protest against it.
But you're getting the game. Lexi, you're getting the game called off. You're getting the game called off. So we will.
So we can't.
No, do it tomorrow. They
should have sufficient policing in place.
No,
to go. There might be a peaceful protest.
There's always going to be drunk idiot.
Deal with it.
See, Micah Richards actually brought that up. The fact that, I mean, he was on the side of the United fans. He was like, I was looking behind me and I seen maybe one guy throw a can of beer that nearly killed Graham Souness and a flare that landed, a good bit away from him as well.
Stop talking about the flares.
Apart from that,
Robbie,
he spoke about. Let me finish. He spoke about the fact that policing was not good enough. That the policing was not there in the first place to stop the fans getting near. There should have been a perimeter around the stadium if that was going to, stop happening.
Okay.
Well, Robbie, before there's banners everywhere.
What you have to understand is, of course, Michael Richards is. If United were about to win a treble, and City's fans were ambushing Etihad, and I was sitting on Sky Sports, I'd be behind the scenes. I'd be going, "Oh, fucking smash the shitty stadium up! Go on, son." Why would he not be with the United fans? He's enjoying what's going on. His club are going to win a treble, and we're in absolute turmoil.
See, but that's the thing, though. See, if Man United did win treble, I would still be like, I don't give a shit about the game now. I literally don't care.
Okay.
For me, nothing is going to change.
For me,
nothing's going to change. Nothing's going to change, mate. See if we stay the way we are just now. Settling for what the Glazers are like at the moment and not protesting, then we're going to be with them until they die. And maybe even their family will take over instead. So, guys, obviously, thanks for tuning in. We've kind of went over a bit. But yeah, obviously, like and subscribe on Twitter and YouTube as well. But yeah, thanks guys, obviously for joining.